Let me ask you a question, Joe.
Yeah.
You're right here with me.
Yeah.
Have you been on the floor of the Senate? You were in the Senate for a few years.
Yeah.
Time and time again, talking about the necessity, with pride, about cutting Social Security, cutting Medicare, cutting veterans programs.
No.
You never said that.
No.
I want to go on record. I'm up for re-election this year, and I'm going to remind everybody what I did at home, which is going to cost me politically. When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government. And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a third time, and I tried it a fourth time.
All right. Joe, let me repeat it again. I want you just to be straight with the American people. I am saying that you have been on the floor of the Senate time and time again talking about the need to cut Social Security, Medicare, and veterans programs. Is that true or is that not true?
No, it's not true.
That is not true?
That is not true.
When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government.
All right, you're right. You just said it, including, in your judgment, cuts to Social Security and veterans.
In order to get the kinds of changes we need on other things related.
Joe, then
but
you
it
just...
didn't. But we did not cut it.
I know, because people like me helped stop that. But Joe, you just contradict... It will mean, in my view, the destruction of the Social Security system as we know it. It will mean savage cuts in Medicare, in Medicaid, in the opportunity of young people to get grants and loans to go to college. It will mean major cutbacks in nutrition programs for hungry children. It will tamper with the unemployment compensation program, as we heard earlier. It will be a disaster for the vast majority of the people in this country. Right. One more time. Were you on the floor time and time again, for whatever reason, talking about the need to cut Social Security and Medicare and veterans programs?
No, I did not talk about the need to cut any of those programs.
Okay. When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government.
All right, so here we go. Episode 3 of the I Am the Walrus. You know the thing. Put on a record player. Let's do push-ups. And domestic violence. You got to keep punching.
I'm really glad the window's there and I'm here so you don't wander halfway off camera right now.
And so the whole point of this is that we can do a lot to deal with endangered species. And one of the things I would like to raise is that we have to deal with this on an international basis as well.
I'm really glad for that window right there.
Well, wait a minute. I'm not done. You know the deal. You don't like that Obama was the deporter-in-chief? Chief, go vote for Trump. All right. Obviously, it was very depressing last Tuesday. But if you think it was depressing here, I was in New Orleans where I subjugated my wife to a fucking horrendous vacation. It was really my fault because I suggested it. And see this shirt? It's from the Big Lebowski, I Am the Walrus, the picture of Lenin, the scene in the bowling alley. Well, while we're in New Orleans, we went to Cafe Beignet, whatever the fuck it's called. And there was a piano player and a trombone player. And the first night we listened to them. I put $5 in the jar and we left. The next night, they weren't on yet when we finished. So as we're walking out, the piano player spots my shirt and runs over to me and says, "You understand that Lenin was a very evil man, right?" I says, yeah, I know. He goes, "And why are you wearing his T-shirt?" I thought he was kidding. So I says, "So you don't have to wear it." He goes, "Neither do you." And now I realize he's pissed off. So no, I'm pissed off. I says, "It's a fucking movie, you jerk." He must have read I Am the Walrus. He goes, "I Am the Walrus?" I go, "No, you're a fucking moron." While we're in New Orleans, it's a nice place for young kids. You could do what you got to do, but it's a lot of walking involved. Old people should never go there. The food sucked. The place stunk. It was smelly. Long story short, one person in that whole fucking state saw me wearing a Bernie shirt, recognized it, and said, "Thank you, sir. Thank you. Great shirt." Nice. That's how red that state is. And those are the states that Joe Biden is sweeping. Just like Hillary Clinton swept all the red states and then lost the fucking election. So with that, I turned it to my Figlia mia, my daughter Nicole.
Well, yeah, I'm noticing already. Bernie's still in the race, but we're already doing vote blue no matter who. I'm noticing a lot of people. Yeah, came back with a vengeance. And I'm noticing three arguments mostly: kids in cages, the Supreme Court justices, and how Trump is handling the coronavirus. So, the kids in cages. I hate to remind people, but the Obama-Biden administration expanded ICE, deported 3 million people, locked whole families in cages, and built the cages to hand over to Trump. So, this whole, we have, and by the way, I haven't heard about the kids in cages throughout the entire impeachment.
Of course not.
This is coming back. This is a new, it's a new concern.
Rebirth,
yeah. And as far as the Supreme Court justice, like, have we forgotten Anita Hill? Have we forgotten Scalia?
He supported Scalia.
I mean, and then in the treatment of Hill and how he also pushed another Supreme Court Justice, Anthony Kennedy, who basically weakened civil rights protections and started the gradual erosion of abortion rights.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I mean, so those two arguments shot to hell. And then the coronavirus handling, now Trump obviously fucked this up.
He's an idiot.
And he did it because it's an election year and he wants to be reelected. But, Biden pushed a lot of crime bills, a lot of authoritarian, legislation because he had to be tough on crime to run with Republicans, to keep up with Republicans. Yeah. So how many people have been thrown in jail because of Biden's tough on crime?
Millions.
Yeah, millions and millions and millions. So
same voters that voted for him in the South that are red states.
Right.
Great.
So those three arguments are just total bullshit. And what I'm seeing a lot of is that people who will not vote for Biden because they had their father thrown in prison. People who will not vote for Biden because their mother was deported. People who will not vote for Biden because, their kids are now saddled with tons and tons of student loan debt because of his bankruptcy bill. Vote blue no matter who. People are calling those people privileged.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, but because your life is okay right now, and because Trump is putting it in your face that we kind of fucking suck. This country does suck. I'm sorry. You have to. Yeah, it's good that it's out in the open. We need to know how bad we are, and if we put Biden in, he's going to do the same shit.
Well, you know what?
And it gets covered up.
His motto is nothing fundamentally will change.
Yeah, exactly. And he said this.
Yeah, that's the difference between the two parties. One, you have Trump, who is repulsive and he's a piece of shit and he's a scumbag and he's dumb, telling you to your face he's a racist, he's this, that, the other thing, and he's going to do it, right? I'm telling you, I suck, but fuck you, because I got a bunch of crazy white bastards that have no fucking clue what's going on to vote for me. On the other hand, you have the Democratic Party now with Joe Biden, who's fucking neurologically impaired. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Now turning around and saying fundamentally nothing's going to change. So I'm still going to fuck you. I did pass segregationist legislation in the past. Mm-hmm. I did help author the crime bill that put millions of minorities in prison. I did support the Iraq War. I was a salesman for the Iraq War. 9 months after that, there's a video of it where he's still selling the Iraq War. He's going to do the same fucking thing. Nothing fundamentally will change. But I'm a Democrat, so you got to do what Democratic voters, loyalists did through 8 years of Obama when they lost over 1,000 seats. You have to make believe he didn't say it. You have to make believe that everything is fine because there's a Democrat in power. No, that's bullshit. And we're going to get into some of that stuff with the vote blue, no matter who. We're back to that bullshit again, because suddenly that's made a big resurgence during when Bernie was surging, and Bernie had after Nevada, a lot of Biden people, a lot of centrist Democrats were coming out and saying, "Oh, I can't vote for him."
In the studio by Lindy Lee, a Democratic delegate candidate and member of Joe Biden's policy and outreach team. Lindy, you said in an interview last month, because of the experiences you've had online, in particular with some Bernie supporters, you said that if he were to become the Democratic nominee, you said you would not vote for him.
Absolutely not.
So that means you would be, what, voting Trump, sitting at home?
I'm going to vote blue all the way down except for president.
So you're okay with a second Trump term?
I'm absolutely not okay with it, but I'm also almost probably equally terrified and traumatized by the prospect of a Sanders presidency right now.
If it is Bernie...
MSNBC couldn't do more of a big hit job. Right. And we have a great clip with Lawrence O'Donnell, who, you know, who can't get his nose out of Rachel Maddow's ass every night. But the bottom line is we have a clip of him.
If you want to pull the party, the major party that is closest to the way you're thinking, to what you're thinking, you must show them that you're capable of not voting for them. If you don't show them you're capable of not voting for them, they don't have to listen to you. I promise you that. I worked within the Democratic Party. I didn't listen or have to listen to anything on the left while I was working in the Democratic Party because the left had nowhere to go.
Where he literally said what we're saying, which is so long as you dedicate your vote to the Democratic Party, they are not going to take you serious.
Yeah.
They have no reason
Exactly.
to acknowledge you. So long as you pledge your vote. And Krystal Ball also said this.
But I will tell you this for sure. I will never allow myself to be put in a situation where my only two real presidential choices are basically shoot me or stab me.
It's, you know, they may not go as far as I'm getting back onto the protest vote wagon. We fully expect them to cancel the debate to protect this fucking impaired genius that the Democrats got behind. We'll see what happens. But those are real issues right now. Right. They really are issues. They are protecting Joe Biden like the Republicans' McCain campaign had protected Sarah Palin for as long as they could. The difference between the two is Palin was, you know, literally stupid. Biden isn't stupid, but he is impaired. He's neurologically impaired. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Right. You know, the thing. You know the thing. I mean, it's sick. It's sick.
Well, my other favorite argument is, you know, we have to bring civility back to the White House, and then there are so many clips of him Biden aggressively going after voters.
He's the original Biden bro.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he you know, confronted an auto worker, you know, and told him he's full of shit when the auto worker brought up something about the Second Amendment. And he said, you know, you're full of shit, and he called him a horse's ass.
Second Amendment right to take away from you.
You're full of shit. Okay, now shush. Shush.
Said that you're taking the gun.
Oh, he just clarified it. Wait. Take your AR-14s and what?
Okay, this is not okay.
Hold on. Hey, let's
Don't
get
tell me
moving.
anything, pal.
There's a lot of guys. Wanting.
I'm not worried.
Thanks so much.
Give me a break,
so
man.
much.
Don't be such a
You're
worry
pushing up
bag.
on me.
Hey, there's a lot.
How is this civility? Like really?
Let's do push-ups.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I just think people are just so. I think first of all they can't wrap their brain around the fact that there could be somebody worse than Trump, and Trump is horrendous. Like we all agree, Trump is horrendous. He's a horrible human being, but it can get so much worse. And the Democrats are responsible for handing over so much of what Trump is using right now.
Executive power.
Yeah.
Obama abused it. Simple as that. Democrats wouldn't call him out on it.
Yeah. So, and if we put somebody else in power like Biden, who will run with whatever the hell Trump's doing, because I really don't think he's going to roll back much, if anything, of what Trump's doing, and we expand on that, then who's going to come after? And then when Biden loses another 1,000 seats,
right?
You know,
exactly.
Who's going to come in after him?
Trump too. Maybe his son.
Trump 2.0, and then God knows where we'll be at that point.
Democrats are now putting up Hillary 2.0. This was the message they used in 2016, you know, but Trump, and they lost. Now, I mean, Trump may be so repulsive, and this whole virus thing I say may because that's what we thought about the impeachment and everything else. It may hurt him, but the producer's breaking my balls over here. The bottom line is he may wind up losing anyway. Biden may win. But the reality is if Biden wins, what does that do for progressives? What exactly does that do for the progressive wing of the party? It's time. It was time in 2016. Chris Hedges was 1,000% right. I am no longer mad at Bernie because he tried his best. I mean, I think he could have been a lot harder. He wasn't. That's not his style. That's fine. I have nothing against Bernie Sanders. I'll support him to the end. But the reality is we cannot exist in that party. We have no place in that party. They don't. Well, you'll see it in the Lawrence O'Donnell clip. They ignore us. They have no reason to fucking acknowledge us. So we need to form a third party. We need to do it as the day after this goddamn election in November. Hopefully enough of us won't even show up so that we send an even better signal. But if Biden wins, we know nothing's going to change. We know 4 years later it'll be a new Republican in place. But that's life. And if he loses, he loses. Then we're stuck with Trump either way. But the Democratic Party doesn't give a shit about Trump. They don't care if Trump wins, or they wouldn't have Biden as their poster child for incompetency. So the bottom line is that we have to move. We have to. That's not even an issue anymore. Whether Bernie agrees or AOC agrees or not, we have to leave the party. It's as simple as that.
Another argument I'm seeing from Blue No Matter Who people, they like to call us cultists in a way, like because we're so it's Bernie or bust. It's like, no, Bernie. I love Bernie. I do. It has nothing to do with Bernie. It has everything to do with his policies. It has everything to do with the fact that people are dying because they don't have health care, because people are being locked up for ridiculous reasons. We're bombing 7 countries.
8 now.
8 now. Oh, sorry. 8. I lose track. And so it has nothing to do with Bernie. So if Bernie, I don't give a shit if Bernie sanctions a Bernie or bust movement, or
that's his business.
That's up to him. We need a third party. We need a party that works for people, everyday people.
Yes, and if that costs the Democrats elections in the future, tough shit. What Chris Hedges said is that a third party will have to exist in the political wilderness for a few election cycles, and that's a fact of life. We know we're not going to win with a third party. And that gives the Republicans what they want. You know what? So are the Democrats giving the Republicans what they want. You explained the fucking resistance to me when they approve these military budgets, when they allow him to expand and retain the surveillance bullshit. I mean, sorry, they do not speak for us. They do not. I'm not a fucking Democrat anyway. I'm a socialist. I'm a real socialist. Right. I'm actually left of Bernie. But I'll support Bernie because he's the closest thing to me. That's it.
Yeah, I think people forget that a lot too, is that I'm only a Democrat because I want to vote for him in the
primary.
The second I vote for him in the primary, hopefully he'll still be around in June, I'm out. I mean, I'm out until the next progressive runs as a Democrat. Yeah. So I have no loyalty to that party. They've done nothing for me. So I don't owe them anything. I don't owe them my vote.
Absolutely not. Krystal Ball made that point. You have to earn our vote. You don't get it just because you fucking assholes don't have the balls to challenge your own party. Just because the Democratic loyalists, vote blue no matter who, refuse to acknowledge all the bullshit that party has done to the working class, like turning its back on unions, like supporting Wall Street. I mean, Obama's still getting $600,000 a fucking speech from Goldman Sachs now? I mean, what a fucking joke that is. And what is Biden proposing? His cabinet's going to be made up of fucking all the Wall Street bankers that sunk this country in 2007. They're going to turn around and be on the cabinet. Great. That's just what we need, a return to the fucking policies that brought Trump in. You got to be kidding me. But that's where we're at. That's exactly where we're at. So we have to. We do feel the burn. We love Bernie. Bernie could cry on his fucking knees. There's no way I'm going to support Joe Biden. It's not going to happen. Okay, I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden. And if they cancel that fucking debate tomorrow night, I will switch my vote back to Trump, a protest vote for Trump. I'll nail it. I'll never turn away from it. If they cancel that debate, we know it's bullshit. We know they're protecting Biden, and that's the end of it. How could anyone with a record, it's on YouTube, it's there, it's him, it's his figure, it's his speech, it's not fake news. Biden telling people, first of all, plagiarizing all the speeches he had to get out of a presidential primary because he got caught red-handed.
There is one less candidate in the race for the presidency tonight. Delaware Senator Joseph Biden dropped out of the hunt today, saying the disclosures about his plagiarism in law school and his exaggerations about his academic record made it impossible for him to continue.
I do it with incredible reluctance, and it makes me angry. I'm angry with myself for having been put myself in the position of having to make this choice.
The Delaware Democrat is the second candidate to be forced from the race by questions of character and integrity.
He lies about his academic record, tells these incredible bullshit stories, argues just like he does now. And notice he didn't stutter back then, so that big bullshit story about the town hall.
Oh,
yeah, that was a crock of shit, because he doesn't stutter for a second. His stuttering began after his brain aneurysms. He had 2 of them, and he had brain surgery. That's just another fact that they don't bring up when they ask Bernie about his medical records. So Biden is in these videos yelling at a guy about how smart he was and he finished at the top of his, and then you find out, then it's followed up with news programs talking about how he got caught in one lie after another about that shit. This is the guy that the Democratic Party wants to negate Trump's 17,000 lies with. I mean, so that, and never mind Hunter, hey, yeah, he's just like all of us, Biden. He's just like the rest of us. He's an average person who sends his kid to the Ukraine, doesn't have a fucking clue what he's doing, but gets $50,000 a year. Give me a break. Give me a break. That's just as fucking as corrupt as anything the Republicans do. It's total bullshit. And if you don't think the Republicans are going to be all over that, everybody right now, because of the virus, thinks this could be it for Trump. The reality is, where do you see the airwaves flooded with those Biden videos about all the bullshit that he's pulled? So, I'm not a big Cenk Uygur fan, not because he's a progressive, because I think he's like a Michael Moore progressive. At the last minute, they fold over like a fucking tent and they vote blue no matter who. So, but he got into a little bit of a spat with Krystal Ball over whether she should not vote for Biden or not. He's vote blue no matter who. And I say that just cut your own throat. You're cutting your own throat when you vote blue no matter who. If you're a progressive, if you're a centrist Democrat, that's what you should do. You should vote that or the Republican Party. It's the same shit.
Right.
But if you're a progressive, there's no fucking way you could vote blue. And they got into this little spat. We'll show some of that too.
You've also got to realize that this whole vote blue no matter who thing is a complete con. Because what do we see? Biden's already on TV with Lawrence O'Donnell saying he'd veto Medicare for all. I mean, they spit in the faces of this movement of young people and working class people who believe in these principles. They call them brown shirts. They say they're toxic Bernie bros, and then demand that they just all turn around and pledge to vote for Joe no matter what. Well, I don't think that we should be so easy in giving up our votes like that.
What do we think might happen at the convention? Because this is where I do agree with Cenk Uygur. He thinks that there's a good chance, because Biden is such a fuck up, that they'll turn around and yank Biden if he doesn't get the 1991.
I was absolutely thinking that. And I'm thinking the smart move for him would be to try to recruit Michelle Obama in either as his VP, or if they want to give it to somebody else completely. I mean, at first I was thinking Bloomberg, but now forget it. But yeah, I don't know who they would give it to, but I mean that would be a smart play because he cannot be president. He's not capable. He's not capable.
But whether Cenk was thinking they'll take him off altogether.
Yeah.
But let's say we assume he's a nominee, and what'll happen is this talk of Kamala Harris, which should turn off every progressive in the country. This is a woman who should be in jail herself. She withheld exculpatory evidence from a guy on death row. How she wasn't thrown in jail for that, I'll never fucking know, because that's murder.
And she bragged about throwing parents in jail for truancy when the kids couldn't show up to school.
Yeah, I mean, it's just she's fucking horrible.
Poor parents who couldn't.
And what Tulsi did to her, that's the reason, by the way, Tulsi Gabbard is not allowed in this debate. As the DNC once again changes the rules. First, they changed the rules. They let Bloomberg buy the fucking primary, right? He comes in, but he gets eviscerated in a debate. And he has to bow out, and he puts all his money behind Biden. And so now you turn around and you have one person. If you had a delegate, you were allowed on the debate stage. Right. Well, Tulsi got the delegate. She got two, and they're taking her off the debate stage. They're not even acknowledging him. Oh, wait till we get to Warren. Wait till we get to that fucking snake. But they're going around saying, like MSNBC, there were no women in the race. Yeah. No, exactly wrong. There is a woman in the race. Her name is Tulsi Gabbard.
Hi, I'm here.
And they changed the rules again to keep her off the stage because, let's face it, she'll eviscerate Joe Biden. She'll eviscerate
She'll do
him.
what Bernie won't do.
Yeah,
she'll just go right after him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where Jimmy Dore's 100% right. Bernie he refuses to take the gloves off. Tulsi has no problem. She decapitated Kamala Harris. Yeah. So before we get off that subject, the VP pick for Biden, I think if he went with Michelle Obama, while Bernie people will probably ignore it, and stay home, I still think that he would probably win. But you know what? I've been wrong on these so many times. It doesn't make a difference. But you're right. He's not going to last 4 years. He may not even make it to November. That's the other side of the coin. So and if he went with Hillary, Oh my God. I think it would be, he might lose 40 states.
I was like, nothing, but honestly, it would be so on brand for the Democrat
Oh
Party.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
nothing would surprise me less.
Absolutely.
I mean,
But the only pleasure I get out of Michelle Obama being Biden's VP pick is the fact that it could cause, if he won, it could cause Hillary to hang herself. I mean, it could. It really could.
and, or Michelle Obama.
Oh yeah, that's right. The other side of the coin,
suicided.
she might be suicidal. That's true too. And there's one from Rising with Saagar and Enjeti, Krystal's co-host, where the name of it is He Can't Speak. Biden can't speak. He can't get through a fucking conversation. He can't get through 2 sentences.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. You know how we talk about it. Are we the people? Folks.
I mean, it's hilarious that this is what they're doing. And the other day on MSNBC, I watched some of the shit for a couple of minutes each morning just to see where they're headed. And they were literally putting up the Trump stuffs where he slurs his speech and he says dumb shit. Yeah, we know he's a fucking moron. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
You're not, you're preaching to a choir that doesn't give a shit. But the reality is you're turning around and you're trying to offset Biden's fucking mental incapacity with Trump's bullshit. I mean, give me a break. You're putting up so you go back to Biden's claim, his motto, nothing fundamentally would change. Right. So why the fuck would they change it?
It goes to show how much they really hate poor people, that they're willing to coalesce around somebody who can't finish a sentence.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote for the other guy. Give me a look, though, okay?
I mean, and that's, I believe, obviously, that's what's really driving them. God forbid poor people should have rights. God forbid. And they will do anything they can to stop that. And they're coalescing around somebody who is, he's just not there.
It's their all men were created equal. The thing.
But I think there are a lot of things that people don't realize about Biden. Some of the legislation that he's helped push or champion or write. Yes. So we know about the crime bill. We know about the bankruptcy bill. We know about NAFTA. But we know about the Iraq war. But I don't know. Do people know that he was the architect? Do people know that he did more than just vote for it? That he chose all 18 witnesses to go on the Senate hearing, to give testimony on the Senate hearing on the Iraq war, and that they were all, and that they're the ones who lied, but he's the one who chose those people to put up. So they were testifying that even though Iraq was devastated by sanctions, but they were saying that, they have weapons of mass destruction, and of course they didn't. Yeah. And they were devastated by economic sanctions, so they didn't have much power to do anything to us.
Of course not.
And they didn't house Al-Qaeda members because Saddam Hussein was actually against them. Yeah, they were not in the country, but he chose witnesses to put up.
And this is pre-brain aneurysms, pre-stuttering.
Yeah, so he was fully aware of what he was doing.
Thank you.
So he played a major role in deceiving the public about the Iraq
He's
war.
A lying sack of
He didn't
shit.
just vote for it, and that's where I'm like, all right, Bernie, you got to kind of bring this up. Like,
Bernie, exactly, Bernie.
He just mentions that, and I didn't know this until last week when I was doing my research. I had no idea that he was so instrumental in deceiving the public. And I don't know how many people really understand that he was.
I didn't know a lot of the stuff that you just mentioned. I didn't. I mean, I knew he was a salesman for the Iraq war, even 9 months later, but I didn't know all of this stuff about the 18 members. I mean, I didn't. Yeah.
And just to remind people, the Iraq war was, it destabilized the Middle East. Yeah. Thousands of our soldiers died. Tens of thousands were wounded. Hundreds of thousands hundreds of thousands of our own people have post-traumatic stress, and about 1 million Iraqis were killed.
Exactly.
And so, I have a problem voting for Biden. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry if that makes me privileged, but I have a problem voting for him. So that's the war, but the Iraq war. But we know that about the busing situation. But he joined in '77. He joined the the Judiciary Committee and became the Senate's leading anti-busing champion. And he was so against busing that on the Judiciary Committee, filled with former segregationists.
Right.
He was the one who voted against 2 historic black nominees to the Justice Department because of their stance on busing. So he was to the right of former segregationists.
Yes.
Now, please tell me
Yeah.
that I should, again, vote for Biden.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not only that, didn't he make a statement, something like, they want my kids to go to a racial jungle or some stupid statement.
Oh, right, yeah.
Some crazy thing he said. I mean, the guy's, and Claiborne, Claiborne, how do you pronounce it? That fucking sellout. Listen, you scumbag. You won. You got the red states that you're going to fucking lose in November to vote for a guy who can't win. Great. Good job.
Yeah. You know. And there's also there are several crime bills that he was the champion of, not just the crime bill. He was instrumental in getting a bill passed in the Senate that increased mandatory minimums, limited the number of appeals for prisoners, expanded the death penalty to 51 crimes, and allowed the use of illegally obtained, this is my favorite, allowed the use of illegally obtained evidence as long as police officers were acting in good faith.
Yeah, they're always acting in good faith.
And of that bill, which thank God...
Stop resisting.
And of that bill, which didn't pass, it just passed the Senate, so thank God. But of that bill, he said, we do everything but hang people for jaywalking.
We do everything but hang people for jaywalking.
There you go.
So tell me once again,
Sleepy Joe.
Tell me once again
Vote
why
blue.
I should vote blue, no matter who. And he actually pushed George Bush Sr. on, George Bush Sr. in '89 outlined his national drug control strategy, which called for harsher penalties for drug dealers, more money for drug-related law enforcement, more prisons, jails, courts, prosecutors.
Yeah, of course.
And Biden pushed him and said that plan was not tough enough.
I tell you, the one I want to know about is, remember there was a judge in Pennsylvania, I think he's doing life or something, who was caught in a corrupt scandal about sending juveniles, minorities mostly, vast majority minorities, giving them extended sentences and everything because the private prisons were kicking them back. I mean, I wonder where Biden was on that guy. He was probably his best friend. I don't know, so I can't say that for sure. But yeah. I mean, it's just, this is nothing fundamentally will change. It's Joe's motto, when he can remember
Agree
it.
with me. Go to Joe 30330.
But that's what the Democratic Party is pushing, and there's 2 theories. And the one theory is, I happen to believe it, they don't give a fuck if he loses because they retain their bureaucratic power within the Democratic Party. Nothing changes. They retain their ability to stick it to the left, to stick it to progressives, and they all have their fat cat corporation donations. Whereas Bernie is an existential threat to bribery. That's the bottom line. He gets in there, he cleans house. None of those scumbags are around anymore. Debbie Wasserman Schultz. All those people are gone from power, and that's why they can't allow Bernie to win, because Bernie speaks for the people. The last thing these motherfuckers want is the people to have a say in this election. That's the last thing they want,
Absolutely.
Now, so some people are saying, Cenk Uygur made this argument. We lost the primary. We don't know that we lost the primary. I'm not even talking about the delegate count. I mean, explain to me how you allowed, the DNC allowed in that last debate, lobbyists at ticket prices from $1,750 to $3,200 to sit in that fucking audience and boo everything Sanders said and cheer everything Bloomberg and Biden said. Obviously a shill audience.
But the thing I could not have anticipated was the bizarre response of the audience. They booed Bernie for going after billionaires. They wildly cheered terrible answers from Bloomberg. Actually, they pretty much booed every progressive thing that was said.
That Cuba made progress on education. Yes, I think, really?
What the fuck was that about? You're going to tell me that wasn't primary rigging? Somebody says, oh, that's politics. Fuck you, that's politics. Politics as you accept it, not as I accept it. That makes me want to vote for Trump. The fact that they can't even allow a fucking debate, and these are half-assed debates with moderators that are totally shilling for the centrist party. I mean, give me a fucking break on this shit. So I'm supposed to accept that. I'm supposed to bend over, just take it because vote blue no matter who? Fuck you. Ain't happening. No way.
Yeah.
No way. All you're doing is pushing me a little closer to protest voting for Trump because I am fucking crazy. I don't give a shit. You know, I don't care if the Democratic Party dies. Liz fucking Warren. Snake emoji. They should have the tail with her fucking face on it. That's what Elizabeth Warren was.
And I have seen that centrism is a losing electoral strategy. But somebody tweeted some snake emojis at me, and so as I decide between Bernie and Biden, this is something I must really consider. Sure, my life's work has been devoted to making life easier for the middle class, and I came into politics fighting against Biden, the senator from MBNA, for his coziness with credit card companies. But I now believe the main threat to our well-being is whether people on Twitter were personally mean to me.
I knew. I take credit for this. Day one, that she was a phony bastard.
I have not
I
trusted
said it
her.
from the beginning.
Yeah.
She's no progressive. She's a former Republican. She was a corporate lawyer who defended Dow against women who sued for faulty breast implants. Don't tell me about a woman, all the little girls are going to be disappointed. They're going to be disappointed in the fact that you were a fucking sellout in the end. In 2016, she could have endorsed Bernie Sanders if she was a progressive.
Right.
Bernie Sanders asked her to run in 2016. She declined because she didn't want to buck the party. She knew it was Hillary's turn. Okay, so she steps back. Bernie runs. Bernie's doing phenomenal. She doesn't endorse him before the Massachusetts primary. Bernie loses to Hillary by a very small amount. And she hides until the convention. Then she comes out and supports Hillary. Okay, so now she's saying what you had mentioned. People are going to lose. No chance for health care. Mm-hmm. No chance for...
to climb out of student debt.
Anything.
No chance to end the wars.
Any progressive
No
agenda.
chance for climate salvation.
Because people called her out for being a phony. Because she got a snake emoji. Let me tell you something. That's the next thing that's going up here. I'm going to have a fucking snake with Elizabeth Warren's head on it because that's what she is. She's a fucking snake. She's a party Democrat. She was never anything near a progressive, ever. She did one fucking bill in her life that she cries about, screams about over and over, and then she disappeared from the scene. How the fuck? You and I know if it was Elizabeth Warren in the lead, and Bernie Sanders had to drop out, he would have endorsed her 30 seconds after he would have been in his speech. I endorse Elizabeth Warren. But that's not going to happen. And the fact that she let that last Tuesday run by without even opening up, fuck her. Well, she's a piece of shit.
She did find time to go on SNL and do a
mock
skit.
it.
And they asked her, who are you going to endorse? She goes, well, maybe I'll pull a New York Times and endorse both. And that's when she became dead to me. She's totally irrelevant now.
Well,
I haven't thought about her. I haven't thought about her, honestly, since the SNL skit. I just really don't care.
Krystal Ball, when we showed us the Rising clip, the name of it is Warren is Forever Dead to the Left.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I mean, she's just totally irrelevant. Yes. I don't even think about her anymore. She's not even in my consciousness anymore. I'm like, all right, we're hopefully we're gonna push as far as we can push. Fuck her. She didn't want to help us. That's fine. I hope you get primaried.
She will.
And I hope you lose your seat. But other than that, I'm not putting
third in her state.
Yeah,
that's how fucking popular she is. She finished third in her state. And let me tell you something. When that happens, when she does get primaried, I am going to donate to whoever challenges her. And if she wins the primary, I am going to donate to the Republican that challenges her. I don't give a fuck. I am about revenge. My daughter is smarter. I'm a lunatic.
No, I was going to say the next time I give a thought to Elizabeth Warren is when I donate to her primary challenger. That's the next time I think about Elizabeth Warren. Until then, I just don't care. I just don't care.
Exactly.
And she was such a disappointment. I mean, really, she didn't disappoint me. Like you, I knew.
We knew she was full of shit.
It just sucks because at the debates, she sounded so. She made the case for progressives for me. It's like she sounded so good. It's like, oh, maybe she changed, maybe, and then
she bailed out.
She just bailed out, and just, oh, fuck.
I'm gonna support the guy who is diametrically opposed to everything I just said I was for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's where when Bernie endorsed Hillary in 2016, it ripped my heart out because it's the same thing to me. It's just,
yes, I mean,
he's going to do it again with Biden.
Yes, he is. And people have to be prepared. His supporters have to be prepared. Look, I donated twice to AOC. I live in New Jersey. I donated to Rashida. I donated to Ilan. And, I only hope that they leave that fucking party the day after the election. They probably won't. And if they don't, they're just going to be corrupted like everybody else. The bottom line is Bernie, he did his best. It's fine, whatever. You know, even if he managed to get ahead in the delegate count, he's not going to get to 1991. They're going to, the superdelegates will come in and wipe him out. And, you know, they'll have their broker convention and they'll choose their nominee, making the whole fucking process irrelevant, making it just stupid. Just pick the winner. And, you know, I'm not going to vote for them. It's just not going to happen. Now I live in Jersey, and I used to say that doesn't make a difference, my vote. I'm not so sure Jersey is going to be a Democratic state. We've had several Republican governors in this state, and where I work, I'm in a law firm, and there are several people there. There's some Democratic supporters there who are Biden supporters. There's me. There's me or maybe three other people who say they're Sanders supporters, but maybe two of us will show up. But the reality is that the vast majority are Republicans, and they don't care what Trump does. Yeah. Just the way the Democrats don't care what Biden does. They're just going to support their person, whoever they feel should be the president. And I'm not so sure Jersey's going to be a fucking Democratic state come November. I'm not so sure. Now, look, he's repulsive, and he may lose outright. But, Trump is repulsive. But I don't see, Biden coming to life between now and November.
I don't see
finishing a thought.
I don't see somebody working 3 jobs go, I have to get out and vote for Biden.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I don't see people struggling to feed their kids saying, I have to get out and vote for Biden. It's just,
Chris is gone. Chris is gone.
Annie's letter might have done the trick.
My wife wrote a letter to MSNBC about, it was a really good letter, to MSNBC about his crack about the Nazis marching into France. His crack about Bernie winning in Nevada or whatever it was. I mean, it's just hilarious. And he's finally gone. But from what I understand, it's really more about his sexual, inappropriate behavior on camera and off camera.
So he's a piece of shit on all types of levels.
Well, MSNBC is part of NBC, and that's what they're famous for. Matt Lauer, whoever else, how many people they protected over the years. It's just the way it is. Chris Matthews, and what else? What else do we have? Well, now that this is something we should discuss. There's only 2 people from what I see, Bernie and AOC, who are talking about what should be done in lieu of this virus, and it has to do with UBI, which Andrew Yang, boy, he was a disappointment.
That was really disappointing.
But he proposed universal basic income, and that's really what Bernie and AOC are saying now, because of all the people that have already lost their jobs at convention centers, stadiums, concert halls, Broadway. All those people now have no income. That's just a fact of life. And while the scumbag turned around and gave $1.5 trillion to Wall Street, and then the Senate managed to block block aid to workers. I forgot what the hell it was, but just the fact that they could take that $1.5 trillion and give it out in basic income to people,
right? So
that people don't lose their. I mean, Bernie's asking for them to banks to stop their mortgages. Just let people survive, you motherfuckers, right? Rather than give Wall Street $1.5 trillion so that people who are in the stock market, which most of the country isn't, actually can survive, actually can make it to the next month or until this virus is over. And the way the virus was mishandled in the first place, it's going to go on for months. It's not going to be over in April. It's not going to be over in May, and it's not going to be over in June. And now there was a case where someone got it back. So someone who had the virus lost it. I forget which country it is, and then somehow got it back, got it a second time. So It's going to be devastating, and a lot of people are out of work, and only progressive candidates are urging the government to do the right thing for people so that they don't lose their fucking house, their rent, so they can eat, for Christ's sake.
Well, if I really recommend everybody to watch, if they haven't already, Bernie's
the statement he did, on the virus.
He did 2 speeches on the virus, and he lays out plans. He actually has a plan. This is real leadership. He mentioned all the things that you mentioned: expanding, extending unemployment, stopping mortgage payments, things like that. And if you look at Joe Biden, what did he do? A 7-minute press conference? I mean,
and off a teleprompter.
And nothing, no information, nothing. It just, how are people
They don't care.
They just, they just don't.
They just want a Democrat in office. It's what they did under Obama. 8 fucking years, over 1,000 lost seats in nationwide, Democratic seats nationwide, bombing 5 more countries than George Bush did. Never did a fucking thing about the wrong war in the wrong place at the wrong time. Turned his back on unions. But he was if you go on Facebook, he was the greatest president in our lifetime. Fuck you. He was a piece of shit. In plain English. He was a piece of shit. Get it through your fucking system. He sucked. He did nothing for workers. He did everything for Wall Street, which is why they're paying him $600,000 a speech, just like Hillary Clinton. If you can't come to terms with that, you're a fucking moron.
Ooh.
Right?
Somebody's fired up.
Somebody's fired up. Santana. All right, so now it's promotion time. I took a class from Norman Finkelstein last year. Man is brilliant. This is his newest book. It just came out. It is an incredible indictment of the International Criminal Court's lead prosecutor. Her name is Fatou Bensouda. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But what she did was whitewash. There was an incident. The Mavi Bomber was the flagship of a flotilla, charity flotilla, basically to Gaza. They were going to bring supplies to Gaza, and the Israeli IDF and Navy, boarded the ship. They killed 9 people on the spot. 1 guy died of injuries later on. 100 people were injured. It's a whole horror story. But Norman goes through this thing like it's a legal document. He prosecutes this woman like you wouldn't believe. It is incredible. I made notes in the back. It's just incredible how much detail Norman goes into, and it is a great read. It is just insane that the International Criminal Court has let them off the hook so many times. 3 times she rejected it. Her reasons are ridiculous. And it is, every book this guy has written is so fucking compelling that when you get through with the first few pages, you are sitting there in amazement that the world continues to ignore what's going on in Palestine, and especially in Gaza and the West Bank, what Israel gets away with. By the way, Joe Biden, big supporter of that fucking mess. Now, Bernie Sanders is a supporter of a 2-state solution. Bernie Sanders is Jewish. Bernie Sanders supports Israel, but he also supports the right of Palestinians to live a life. First of all, to survive. Second of all, to have some fucking dignity in their lives. This is insane. It is an ongoing genocide that goes on between Israel and Palestine. Israel completely cutting off all aid to Palestine. And it's a great read. That's number 1 promotion. And number 2, I just started reading this, and it's very telling. It's called The Death of Democracy. I saw this on Chris Hedges on Contact, his show with the author Ben Het. It's a really, really good book. It's about the Weimar Republic, about how Hitler came to power and the big lies, and he really goes into how much of what went on in Weimar Germany and what is happening here. Now, we're never going to be to that extent. We're never going to go that crazy. Trump is no Hitler, as much as everybody wants to say it. He probably would if he could have that power. Don't get me wrong. He's a scumbag and he is a dictator. But we have still a few mechanisms left in place that he can't get away with that. But
Biden will take care of that, though.
Oh yeah, Biden will take care of it. Don't worry about it. He'll flush it all down the toilet. But the reality is that it's a really good book. It's a really good read because it does tell the story of all the similarities. He draws great analogies into how the media controls what is said. Propaganda, basically, and how because the people of a country are so disillusioned, have given up so much hope in their government doing anything for them, how they kind of fall in line with demagogues like Trump, like Hitler, and that's what we have. Now, I'll give Biden this. He's no demagogue. He's too fucking stupid to be a demagogue, but he is being pushed out as the answer to the problems America has. And what America has to come to terms with is that Donald Trump is not the problem. He is a symptom of the problem.
Absolutely.
The problem was there long before Donald Trump. It started back with Reagan. Bill Clinton enhanced it. and it's been enhanced ever since. It's a corporate takeover of this country, and if you don't accept that, I don't know what to tell you. There's plenty of research to do on it. There's plenty of reading to do on it. It's just a fact of life. Corporations write their own legislation. They put people in power. They keep them in power. They are keeping one candidate who represents the people from having any kind of say, and that's Bernie Sanders. So anyway, those were the two promotions, and we'll probably have more down the road, several more. Highly recommended reads. Norman Finkelstein, I Accuse. It's his accusation against the International Criminal Court's prosecutor of the Mavi Marmara, who totally whitewashed it for Israel, and Death of Democracy. It's really good. It's really good. All right, I guess that's it. We love you guys. We miss you guys, and we'll be back again.
We'll be back.
It's like Lenin said, you look for the person who will benefit, and, I am the walrus? You'll, you know what I'm trying to say?
I am the walrus.
That
fucking bitch.
Oh, yeah.
I am the walrus.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie. V.I. Lenin. Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov.
What the fuck is he talking about?
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. You know how we talk about it. Are we the people? Folks.
What the fuck is he talking about?